Back to another Z1 install, and today we're going over the CSC Elimination version 2. So we're starting this with the transmission already out. If you guys need the video on how to get to this point, there's a video on YouTube and in the listings for how to change your clutch and flywheel in the 370Z. So you can watch that up to this point, and then this one will take over. This will also be embedded in that video as a whole, full complete project. Cool. So just for your sake, transmission's out. There's a plug in the back. There is still gear oil in this transmission. You can do this like that, how we are, and just tilt it on a jack stand, kind of tilt it back like this so no fluid comes out when we take off this cover. Or if you're doing this, a lot of you guys are probably changing out the gear oil anyways. If the transmission's drained, you don't have to worry about it. Factory CSC 210s right here has already been removed, thrown away because we're not using that anymore. The factory boot cover here has been removed, as well as the Allen that holds the clutch line and kind of bleeder piece right there. The CSC V2 kit comes with a new bolt that replaces that, so you can throw that away as well. Step one we're going to get into is removing the front cover. Got cordless impact, 12 mil, and an extension just to make it a little easier. We're going to remove all of these 12 mils along the full perimeter of this front cover. I see. Gotcha. Cool. Now that we got all those taken off, we can pull this front cover forward. And it does have a gasket. There is some RTV on those bottom holes, so it may be a little tight. This edge right here, kind of put your finger behind and put a little bit of pressure and try to pull it forward. And it will eventually set itself free. All right, I'm just gonna clean that up with a rag, kind of wipe it off. I don't want to spray any brake cleaner or anything in this because that will get into here and behind there. There's gear oil, everything. Just clean rag, kind of wipe it down. Make sure it's clear of any debris. These 4 bottom holes do protrude through into the actual gear case itself. So there is a little bit of RTV. You can kind of see down here at the bottom, like little kind of chunks and stuff. So when we put it all back together, we'll get all that cleaned out. I just want to make sure there's none on the mating surface when we put this new cover on. Cool. So this thing's hot. You see that? Look at it. You can even see the tool marks from where it's like machined out. This thing's spicy. So take your front cover, your new gasket included. We give you everything you need. You're just gonna slide this on over your input shaft and line it up. Just like that. There we go. That looks good. I can see clearly each thread for each hole through all the bolt holes. So now we'll take our silver ones, which are all the ones kind of on the upper half, and those are like totally capsulated blind holes, as Max would call it. So I'm not going tight at all. I'm doing this just by hand on an extension, just to get them a little hand tight. That way everything sets in place. And like I say on literally everything, try to go in star pattern. Don't go one and then the one directly next to it. Try to crisscross when you can. That just guarantees a perfect fit every time. Dave, that thing is spicy. Cool. So the 4 bolts on the bottom, like I said, RTV. You can see where the RTV was, kind of right there. So let me see if I can get a wire brush and kind of clean some of that out. Go around and scrape that old stuff off. There we go. Just one little spot. Yeah. Bit here in the bottom one, we'll start there. Yeah. Go perimeter and kind of snug all these guys up. Cool. All right, so front cover's on, and I've said it 4 times in this video so far, but yeah, that looks really good. Such a sick looking kit. Cool, so cover's in, new billet sleeve, right? All nice, one piece. Koyo throwout bearing. Same Koyo we use in almost all of our kits that kind of change up stuff like this. Really trusted, no issues. This needs to be pressed on. So luckily, we're in a shop. So we have a press over in our diff building room, and we're gonna get some help from Kason and let these become one part. So, hey bud.
Oh boy. Whoa, this is a restricted area, man. You can't be doing this.
Oh.
No cameras here.
This is not,
So welcome to our engineering department.
this isn't working like I planned.
You don't need 3D scanners, you don't need CNCs, you don't need 3D printers, you just need a vise
But you need a bearing press.
and a Kason.
Sure.
Yeah. And an Asher.
And an Asher.
And a hammer.
And today we've also needed Sean, so, and Kyle, and Max, because he explained
A total of like 6 people.
to change your clutch and flywheel into 370Z.
You just come in here and mess with my stuff.
Whole Jenkins power.
Man, if you don't stop, I'll go make you press this on yourself.
We got our throwout bearing pressed onto our sleeve, so all that's good. But next we're gonna do the chromoly ball. When you get the kit, there's gonna be 2 washers that come with this ball. Here, let me separate these so they're a little easier to see. If you're using a Z1 clutch kit, I'm sure most of you guys will, you're gonna be using this thicker washer. I'm just gonna slide it over and then thread this guy in. If you're using Nissan factory clutch or anything else like that, you're gonna use the thinner one. For full specs, if you need full measurements on stack heights and everything, you can reference the actual written installation guide found in the listing for the CSC Elimination V2. So you're gonna take it, thread it into that open spot. Again, we're using a Z1 clutch kit, so the thick washer. Go just 19 mil socket, and just, cool, that's all you need. Pulling out the lube. A little bit of grease goes a long way, guys. The biggest thing with grease that you don't want to do is overdo it and have any globs sitting around everywhere. You just need a thin layer on the greasable parts, which we're about to go over all of them. But the biggest reason why is if you have a big glob that's kind of stuck on some of these splines, especially kind of more towards the forward part of the car, and you're revving, it's spinning, and it slings a piece and gets on your clutch disc, it's ruined. Like the clutch is gonna start slipping, it'll get on the flywheel, the pressure plate, and it spreads and smears all over, and then you just did all this work for no reason. A little bit on the side like that, single finger, and just kind of work your way around this. Maybe just a tad more, but again, thin, smooth layer, no globs. You should not be able to see any kind of grease sticking off or protruding. Same thing goes for the input shaft right here on the splines, because the clutch does ride on it and does need to kind of move a little bit back and forth. So take a little bit, just kind of work it in the splines, rub it around just like that. A little bit on the pivot ball, and we're also going to put a little bit on the inside of the new fork, clutch fork, where the pivot ball snaps into. This is the new forged fork, forged steel that comes with this kit. This part of the ball down here, I'm gonna put a little bit of grease that I got left over from my glove. This one you can go a little bit heavier on because this pivots on that ball and rocks back and forth like this. but it's facing the other way, and once the ball snaps into place, it's not 100% captive, but it is kind of sealed off from the rest. So you can put a little bit more in there, but again, less is more in this situation. You don't need to go heavy with it. Look at that. Give you a little wiggle just to kind of see the shine in there, but that's really all you need. Last piece is the inside of the bearing sleeve. This rides on that shaft right there that we already put a little bit of grease on, but we're just gonna put a little bit more on. That, you see that, it's too much. Take it off. Like I said, thin layer, less is more. Cool, just like that. You're gonna get 2 springs in your kit. Let me show you the other one. This guy goes with your bearing and your sleeve, right? And it'll help hold these forks kind of in place. It's for that one. We'll talk on that in a second. This one is for the chromoly pivot ball. So you see here, Dave, you can kind of rock in one spot, and then now you just need to push that other one in. Let me see, you might be able to do it by hand. Yeah, you probably could. It's gonna hurt. So, just for the sake of my hands. We'll use pliers. There we go. So it sits just like that. So now when we run this through the tunnel and put the chromoly ball right there and push it on, it'll snap into that hole, and we'll keep it captive there the whole time. One last piece I forgot to mention on greasing is these, when you see the Z1 logo on the fork, these points right here make contact with the bearing sleeve like that, and that's how when you press the pedal it rocks forward. You do need to put just a touch of grease on these, and then would not hurt to put them on those as well. Bingo. All right, so we got all of our components greased up, and we got the spring for our bearing sleeve and throwout bearing. Step 1, when you get to this part, this has to go in first. You're gonna just drop it through the window, kind of twist it, and then don't snap it on the pivot ball, but just kind of like rest it on there, kind of let it hang. This spring, you're gonna slide into this groove, just like that. Clock just like that. So now these ears are gonna face away from the clutch fork. So we're gonna slide this on the input shaft, and then we need to stretch it around. There's little slots on the back side of the clutch fork where you can see that the spring kind of fits in. So now you can stretch that spring and kind of snap it on the top side. Good. And then snap it in place just like that. Thank you, Max.
You're gonna get yourself a Max.
Yeah. Max is actually the guy that designed this kit, so he's been kind of giving us little steps along the way. So,
Get yourself a Max.
yeah, along with everybody else that's helped in this video. So now that you got the spring on, it's attached to the sleeve throwout bearing. Now we can just pop that guy right in, and look at that. Cool. So that should be it for the internal pieces. So now we can spin this guy around and start working on the outside. So that wraps up the components on the inside of the transmission, and the best part about it is you're done. The only thing here that needs to be serviced for the future life of the car is the throwout bearing. And then when you replace that, if it wears out, you know, a little bit of grease here and there, but that's it. There's no slave cylinder anymore on the inside of this transmission. So what you're gonna wanna do now is take the transmission and put it back into the car. Slide it in, stab the engine, all that, and then we'll meet you guys back there to do the slave cylinder relocation, all the clutch line, and then heat shielding around that once we get it back in the car. All right, now for the rest of the CNC install, the transmission needs to be back inside the car. So watch how fast we do this. There you go, wasn't that awesome? Don't you wish it really went that fast? All right, now that we're back in the car, this line's gotta go. So 10 mil flare line again at the body. Oh yeah, God, that was so satisfying. So I know it's gonna be kind of hard to see, but what you're gonna do is push this line through that hole and into that hard line, and then this kind of hex head will fit in that slot. So it should fit flush. So just kind of push it in, start threading the top, and then you'll clock this as you're giving it kind of an upward pressure, and it'll snap into place. And then this retaining clip will slide through here and lock it into place. So, and then take my retaining clip and then make sure it goes in this orientation. And just give it a few love taps. Where to go? I think that's it. So, hard line's on. Our new clutch line is connected to the hard line, and we just got to kind of sit in here. We'll connect it over to the slave in a little bit. Now you're going to install your window. Just like that. Now that we got that clutch line on, we got this little window here, we're going to remove this bracket from the, there we go. And you got two clips here on this one. One there. And now you're gonna take your Z1 slave bracket and bolt it through the starter with the new bolt. There we go. Go. Now once we got the Z1 slave bracket on, it's time to bolt your slave. So 2 supplied. What size are these? 13s. You're gonna wanna feed them in like that and compress the slave cylinder a little bit, and then start threading them in. Good. Boom. There's a hole right at the top of the Z1 slave bracket that this will go through, and this Allen bolt will go through. So we'll hold it over. Thread that guy on. And then you saw us remove those 2 brackets on the harness right here. You're gonna clip it right there. But clip it with what, you might ask? Luckily we're providing a conduit with another Allen bolt. So this guy is really malleable. You can just stretch it out. We'll kind of tuck this up. That way this isn't dangling. Kind of close to where this existing one is. If you want to cut it off once you do this, you're more than welcome to. There's really no need to keep it, but this isn't my car, so we'll just keep it there in case the owner wants to make any changes in the future. So, and then you can just, and boom. Take the banjo and 1 copper washer, just like that. Grab your clutch line. Where'd it go? There it is. And you're gonna run through like that. And then you're gonna take the other copper washer and sandwich that banjo bolt. And now it will take a little finesse. This line is braided steel, so it doesn't want to bend, it doesn't want to move, and just kind of clock it how you need to. And then once you line it up, you should be able to thread that banjo bolt right in. and just good and snug right there. And then make sure that line, it shifted up a little bit as I tightened it. That's fine, just make sure it doesn't make contact with the bleeder because we're gonna need to get to that to bleed the clutch. All right, so that's it for the CSC V2 kit. All you gotta do from here is just bleed the system as normal. Let's go ahead, we'll get the rest of the car back together and then we'll jump back into that. Yeah, I don't think we've done any. Nifty little trick. This sits on top. That way, as we bleed, we don't have to come out from underneath the car, re-top off the reservoir once it gets so low. If you're doing this at home, you don't have something like this, you will have to keep an eye on the reservoir because if you're bleeding it out and you get too low and then you suck in air, you got to repeat the whole process. So this just kind of sits open and guarantees that that reservoir stays full the entire time. We'll go underneath the car. I'll go underneath there with a wrench on the slave cylinder, leave it closed. Lucas is going to jump in the car. When he first hits the clutch pedal, it's going to go straight to the floor and it won't return. So he's going to have to do it with his hand. Slow pumps. And the idea is sets of like 10, usually 10 to 15. So throw it down, pull it up slow, throw it down, pull it up slow. We'll do 10. I'll crack open the bleeder, hopefully air. I'll kind of hear like a little hissing come out. And then when it's done, I close it back and we repeat that process. Another 10 slow pumps. And we just keep going until I get fresh, clean fluid out. The pressure feels good to him, and there's no air bubbles in it when I'm opening that bleeder. Look and make sure everything's good, no leaks. All right, closed. Cool. Yep, keep it going. And let's go a little past 10. Let's do 15. Yeah, cool. Cool, so bled out, all good. Lucas has pedal pressure. There is a slight dead spot at the top. We're gonna work on that. He's gonna take it home because we turned the car on, kind of went through the gears while it was in the air and it was engaging in every gear fine, so it should be good. But he's got a decent drive home. So we're gonna let him get out of here. When he comes back in the morning, we'll see what he thought, how it feels, and maybe an additional bleed or pedal adjustment from there. So yeah, let's find out. But just kind of go through like seconds. All right, so we're back. It's the next day. Lucas took the car home and no issues. Everything seems perfect. So for the next 500 miles, he's gonna break in that clutch, just normal street driving, you know, normal shifts, not launching it, not power shifting, anything like that. 500 miles should be a good break-in period, and then he'll be good to go and rip it as much as he wants. So there you go. That's how you change a flywheel, clutch, and install the CSC Elimination V2 on a 370Z. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on what install videos you guys would like us to do next.